Welcome to the Jersey Tales. On this week's Jersey Tales, Sam finds out, are we still firing Ryan Day? I'm going to talk about some small tweaks. Lexi might fly like an eagle. We're also going to cover other games that are going on. Alex is going to answer the important question on why nobody watches the NBA. Everyone say hi to Drewski. Welcome, everyone, to the Jersey Tales. By the way, for those of you that are just tuning in, if you haven't already followed us on Blue Sky, please do. On the Jersey Tales, you should be able to notice us because we're posting all of these articles. And if you came from there, welcome, and we're excited to have you. So, Sam is a wonderful guest that we've got tonight, and is going to give us a little bit of perspective on the Ohio State situation. So, Sam, you've just won the national title, but you still keep losing to Michigan. Are you going to fire Ryan Day?
No. A national championship is a lot more important than the rivalry. As much as it hurts to lose the rivalry game, it is 1,000 times better to win the national championship.
Now, a small team that's close by to you guys disagrees, but maybe that's because they don't win a lot of national titles. They've only won one recently that I can think of. They still say that the rivalry is more important. What do you say to those Michiganders?
I think they're wrong. And the reason for that is they cheated their title.
All right. Already coming out with the claws. You watched the game, I suppose, right? You watched the whole game, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Cy and I were watching the whole thing too, and the thing. I'll be honest with you. I had to pick between the two, and I really didn't want either one of the teams to win. But if I had to pick one, I would take Notre Dame over. And I'll tell you right now that from watching that game, Notre Dame had some flaws, but I was surprised about how close they kept it.
So was I, honestly. They really fought hard at the end.
Yeah, well, I think Notre Dame's biggest problem was, first off, their quarterback was just keeping the ball too long. And then secondly, they did not make any adjustments at all in offensive plays until, gosh, when was that? Like, Cy, was it the second half?
Yeah, it was about the second half. They decided to make some offensive adjustments, and you saw it play out towards the end of the game.
Yeah, because they had dialed in something on the left side at the beginning with the run game. There was a hole, or there was a matchup, or there was something that they really liked in that first drive against Ohio State, and it was very successful for them the first drive. And then after that, Ohio State made an adjustment, and then they just didn't do anything until the second half. Then they started targeting number one, who had been open a ton of plays. Now, some of the targets that he got, he wasn't open. He was just being Superman, and it was great. Which gave us a good game, I suppose. But I was just really shocked that they just didn't make any adjustments at all. It was like, okay, first half, this is what we're gonna do. Second half, we're gonna do a little bit of this. And still, when receivers were being left wide open, he was just holding on the ball too long.
Yeah, I'm saying that the first drive was very run heavy, and we just couldn't stop it, really. I was getting very upset, as Lexi knows. But the adjustments after for defense was, we figured out their run game, and in the second half, they started to pass it a bit more, which started to work, and then it was basically too late, honestly.
Yeah, well, you started bringing pressure. That was the big part, like heavy pressure. And then again, he held on the ball too long. Like, poor Cy's like sitting there listening to me scream at the guy to like throw the stupid ball, because you could see on the screen there were two wide receivers that were wide open, and they would just have done those short passes, I think that they would have done a lot better, at least opening up like some of the longer stuff. But I don't know. I'm not even a Notre Dame fan. Like, I hate Notre Dame. I was getting mad. Like, I was having the Notre Dame, because like, in all fairness, I think that Ohio State winning the national title this year is probably a good thing in the grand scheme of things for college football. I don't think it was a good thing in general because they basically have this mountain of cash in the NIL situation, and so they're just able to buy a national title right now. And I hope that means that it's part of the stuff that it's going to come to a rebalancing in college football. Now, you're still going to have to watch the Southern schools in the SEC because they're going to figure out a way to cheat. It just can't be Notre Dame and Ohio State and Oregon every single year just because they just have a mountain of cash to throw at athletes.
Yeah.
That's just going to ruin the sport.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
But hey, Ryan Day gets to keep his job, so.
Yeah, I was been saying that after that Michigan loss, if he doesn't win the Natty, he's got to go. But he won it, so.
Really? So you were one of the ones that was like, you have to win the Natty.
Yes.
Like even getting to the championship, like that's not good enough for you. You want him fired.
Yes.
Despite that, like he is in, I think he's like the top. It's the top 5 or the top 7.
5, I think. Yeah.
In win percentages for the first 50 games.
The rivalry game, it's certainly a thing, but like I said, the national championship definitely means a lot more, and he won it. So.
I mean, again, he's in like the top 5 or the top 7. Like everyone else around him had pictures before, like they had color photographs. Like, it was nuts. Yeah, and y'all still want to possibly fire him just because he can't beat Michigan.
That game certainly means a lot to the students there, but like I said, dude, the national championship.
No. Nobody cares what the students think. It's about the alumni and the donor money.
True.
Let's be honest.
True.
I just think it's crazy that Ohio State can be in a position to say, hey, if you don't win a national title, you're going to get fired. Must be nice. It clearly shows just how big of a gap there is in college football between the haves and the have-nots to be in that position.
I mean, to be honest, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I also think the expansion of the number of teams in the playoffs also helped Ryan Day a lot. Because if it was just 4 still, he wouldn't even be in it.
Well, I like the expansion because it opens up the playing field for more teams that would have otherwise gotten snubbed. I mean, we already had the problem where an undefeated Florida State didn't get to make it in simply because of the circle jerk surrounding the SEC. So I'd rather have it expanded. I mean, I'm also a huge college basketball fan, right? And I love it. There's 64 teams that get to compete for a national title. Now, I don't think that football should be that way, but I think 12 is a good number.
Yeah, I'd agree.
At the end of the day, I think the college football playoff is aiming to get the 12 teams in that are legitimately capable of winning a national championship. And, even in most years, 12 might be a high number. There's probably not going to be 12 teams that are capable of winning a national championship, but it is certainly better than 4 where you have deserving teams that don't even get a shot to play for the Natty. One loss, especially to a in conference rival. Sometimes those games can be a crapshoot, but one loss, doesn't matter what point of the season it is, should really not completely annihilate your chances of winning a national championship.
Oh, well, I mean, that's what we saw this year, right? So like Ohio State, they had lost 1 or 2 games.
2.
Yeah. So
Michigan and Oregon.
Yeah. And like everyone thought, like I thought Oregon, it was going to be Oregon's game because honestly, that's who I was rooting for. Because again, I'm looking for a change to the system because I think that if Oregon wins it, then all the SEC teams, it's now going to be screaming about we probably need some cap system. Now Ohio State winning it also still helps that same argument. And there definitely should be. Because again, I think my quote from last week or the week before last was that, all of a sudden, all those used car dealerships in Birmingham, Alabama, are going to find out that it's really hard to compete with Nike. Because they've been paying players under the table anyway. Greasy fast food bags filled with cash, that kind of deal.
Yeah, well, that's always been the standard, going back to the days of SMU, where they were giving out cars to players and promising them houses and all that stuff. The landscape's changed now. It's legal to do that. You can just, sign a player to a contract, or to represent some, advertising firm, or a auto dealership, and it's cool. And to your point, the SEC and those guys, they can't compete with that. They're trying to reorient themselves because, for the longest time they were doing that. Now everybody else is doing it, and it's like, whoa, the field's like all topsy turvy.
Well, no, because they think they can compete with that, and I think now, especially after this year and last year, they've learned that maybe they can't quite compete on a dollars to dollars numbers that they thought they could. Because that was always their complaint. Every time they got caught cheating, it's like, oh, you should just let us pay players. And it's like, all right, now we're at the Wild West situation to where the sky's the limit. We do not have a salary cap. We do not have a roster cap. You can still do whatever you want. Turns out there ain't as much money as you think there is in certain schools down south that were powerhouse in it, because again, they capitalized on the greasy paper bag filled with cash.
They did, and a lot of that was also not just the schools themselves, but the boosters. Some schools have a larger donor base to pull from down south, like SMU, and not up until recently, as in the mid 2000s, Alabama, they have a large donor base to pull from. Schools themselves, no, they can't. A lot of them down there aren't exactly pulling in the big bucks endowment wise to be able to pay players under the table.
Well, it's not the endowment; it's just the booster side of things. But which is the funny part, because they're now starting to dominate college basketball, because turns out you can still use all that SEC money right now to play in basketball. So,
yeah, it's a basketball conference now,
which is hilarious.
Alabama, Auburn, these usual football schools are now playing well into March.
Well, no. My bracket proved otherwise on that.
Wow.
No, because I have a specialty about identifying SEC frauds, which you weren't here last year. So my bracket for a long time was beating Stephen A. Smith's bracket. It wasn't until I think this Elite Eight, I think, that he took it back over, because he still had UConn in. Because I thought UConn was going to get in for an upset too. But I would just look at the matchups on the SEC side of things and be like, no, they're dropping out here. They're dropping out here. They're dropping out here. There's not a single SEC team I think that would make it that far outside of Alabama, and I picked exactly when Alabama was going to drop out. And I think Alabama's good. They're like Calipari, Kentucky 2.0. They've got tons of fresh talent, and he does a great job of bringing them in. And he's a slightly better coach. Actually, I don't want to say it. No, he's a much better coach than Calipari.
Yeah, he is.
He gets quite a bit more out of those one and dones than Calipari ever did. And so, if Kentucky could have gotten their hands on him, well, probably would have been in trouble. But
thank God
they're still at Alabama. Anyway, that's enough basketball talk, because we're talking about football. But at the same time, there probably should be a salary cap, and then you should probably have something where things are kind of leveled. But you're only going to get that in the event that the other side of this, because there's two spectrums, right? I mean, let's be honest. There's the side spectrum, which is like the ACC, the Big 12, right? So we're just out here just trying to exist in this nonsense. And then there's the Big Ten, and then there's the SEC. And if one of the two of them have their boats rocked, that's the only time that we're going to get some sort of change, some sort of like let's try to even the playing field a little bit, and that's kind of what I'm hoping. Unfortunately, not to discredit your win, and like I'm super excited that you guys got to win and you got to have a fantastic time doing the national title, and you didn't get caught cheating yet. You got that going for you too.
Jade.
No, that's not shade. I mean, again, to me, it's much cleaner than the Michigan win, which I don't know how that's still in the books, and yet Louisville just hired ugly strippers, and then we had to give up ours. But you know,
Well, you know why it's on the books. The NCAA moves at the pace of a glacier. Like it'll be 10 years before they rescind that win.
oh no, they took ours away like real quick. All it took was a book deal.
Couple years.
It took a book deal. That's all it took.
Wait, you won something?
Yeah, 2013.
And that didn't happen. Officially, that never happened.
Not according to the NCAA.
Yeah.
As someone who was there, it happened.
I think you had a fever dream. I don't know what you're talking about.
We had a guy break his ankle.
The NCAA.
We had a guy break his ankle.
Such a thing.
That was a Madden simulation.
That was traumatizing events that I witnessed. That I remember that game.
Oh, I watched
all too well solely because of that one moment.
Kevin
that
Ware.
was bad.
Like it was one of those. Like first off, it was with Kevin Ware. It was an unfair. Like we were winning that whole thing. Doesn't matter. And then he breaks his ankle, and then it's just like, well, we're gonna have to win it like even harder now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so like that all being said, for some reason the NCAA is just toothless when it comes to the big name programs in football. I think they're scared of football. Like basketball, like I mean, we were the big name in basketball, and yet they still came after us. So, and then all the like everything else like disintegrated around it. So, ugly strippers. That's all we have.
Ugly strippers.
Ugly
At
strippers.
least hired attractive ones. If you knew you were going to get caught like that.
Well, no, because that should be in the argument, right? It's like hey, you're not getting like extra fancy recruits. Like it's a it's an impermissible benefit, right? So what's the benefit? Well, there's ugly strippers here. Oh, I mean, come on, that's a good defensive argument, right?
It's something. I don't know.
It's something for me to hang my head on. I'm gonna stick with it.
Louisville hire you to defend them through all this?
I know.
Sounds like you do have a pretty good argument.
Yeah. In fact, it was a recruiting disadvantage because the only people that snitched on us were people that didn't come to us because our strippers were ugly. Like that was like on the books, part of the NCAA investigation. They're like, well, no, I didn't go to them. Well, why not? Well, their strippers were much uglier than the other ones that we like went to. Which other schools did you visit? No comment.
That's insane.
Yeah, like it was that was literally an interview. Like it was an interview piece from the NCAA.
The next college football game has to include that as like recruiting violations.
Well, that's not football. That was basketball. But yes.
Well, you know what I mean. You know, the next college, the next college football basketball game, they have to include that. You know, oh, why did you get caught violating the rules? Well, the strippers we had, they were ugly. They were mid, as the kids say.
We were terrible. I'm sorry. We'll do better next time. I promise. Oh.
Also, if we could go back to the game real quick, I just wanted to shout out Will Howard because that dude was balling.
Towards the end, yeah. Like he opened up, yeah. Like it was because they kept it was like every time they were like, we haven't seen much of and there he goes.
Yeah. He actually has the best Ohio State completion percentage ever now.
Yep. I mean, that's gotta be fun, right? I mean,
I have a little bit of a hot take too.
Oh, great, fantastic! Give me.
Take Will Howard at 2 Browns.
Ooh. You gotta cut
quarterback for you guys next year.
What's your reasoning behind that, Sam? So I can turn this into a clip.
You can't throw that out there and then not back it up. people are asking questions.
My reasoning is he has everything you want in a Kevin Stefanski quarterback. He has the size, he has the accuracy, arm talent. He's kind of the Kubiak system quarterback that you want.
All right, so not to drift off into NFL land, but like, how's that any different than Baker Mayfield?
He's a little bit bigger than Baker, and he's also more of a rushing quarterback. Like he can run, has a little bit more of a run ability.
So, as a Browns fan, are you happy they got rid of Baker?
No.
Okay, just let the record show.
Listen, I think anyone at this point would be an upgrade over Deshaun Watson.
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
Like-
absolutely, absolutely.
Like,
in numerous categories, moral, performance on the field, you know, the whole ball game, right?
yeah.
Plus, you don't have to go very far to get Will. He's just an hour and a half down the road.
I feel like this is like the Browns version of Kenny Pickett because he played right down the street
God.
from Heinz Field. So it's like, be careful
He
what
might
you
as
wish
well.
for.
He's right there.
In Heinz Field. He played in Heinz Field.
Yeah,
That's
Pittsburgh.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, Pittsburgh played in it. Yeah. All right, so here's the, I guess, mind turn now. So the college football playoff committee has met, and the first meeting came out of, we are not making any changes yet, but we think there's some tweaks. What do you hypothesize are potentially the tweaks that they're wanting to make? Because I mean, I have a theory, and it may involve a certain Tuscaloosa team. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if like part of the tweaks is just like, yeah, we're gonna do the playoffs every
Alabama
year, but
auto
like,
bid.
yeah, Bama just gets an auto bid. Go ahead.
Oh, off the top of my head, I can't think of any, that are minor tweaks.
I
It's
thought this year
easy-
went great, right?
I mean, obviously there were some things that can be ironed out, but overall, it was fine. I think the biggest issue is the human element, and that's always going to be a thing, that we have to deal with unless we go back to the BCS or just have computers rank everything and have an input going forward. But it was an engaging playoff. I certainly enjoyed it. I think once the viewership numbers come out, it'll show that a large swath of this country enjoyed having a playoff. But as far as minor tweaks, I can't really think of anything. I feel like the biggest things that we could probably hypothesize are gonna come in 26, when I think that's when that deal is up, and they can like expand the playoff or do other things to it. But
No, they
Sorry.
can make tweaks. They can make tweaks to the selection process now. It'll still be a 12-team one, but like they can be like, we're going to give more weight to the SEC team, because that's what's happening.
Oh.
It's like the SEC people are complaining that Alabama was left out, and like it's like, bro, you lost to Vandy.
well,
Lost
okay.
3 times. One of those was to Vanderbilt. I mean, like I said earlier, there's never going to actually be 12 teams that are capable of winning the national championship. But 10 times out of 10, I will take a one-loss Big Ten school like Indiana and give them a shot at a national title over a 3-loss Alabama team.
Yeah, or an undefeated ACC team. At least like let them play and find out. Like again, and people are going, oh well, whenever we played these other teams, they were all blowouts, and it's like, dude, like, have you not followed college football? Because like, there's blowouts every single day. That doesn't mean that they didn't deserve to be there. Now, granted, sometimes Notre Dame gets into places where they just get blown out and embarrassed, and they don't deserve to be there. But that being said, if you compared, like, I think it was, if you compared the loss differential on the playoff selection committee's choices versus what we just saw this weekend, slight segue, outside of a couple of games, college did better as a whole.
No, they actually did. This was a good experiment. And they're going to continue to stick with this. It's going to be expanded, but tweaks can be made along the way. One tweak that they should not do is give more weight and power to the SEC, because you're just speeding up the inevitable breakup where as the SEC takes their ball and goes home. That's all you're doing. So if you want to speed that up by giving them more power and control over this, by all means go ahead. But they cannot let one conference dictate, all who gets in, how the playoff works. It's just not fair.
Especially one conference that might be flirting with irrelevancy at this point.
Well, yeah.
I mean, you can hate on me all you want on that comment. I mean, you got 2 years where you didn't even make it to the national titleship. I mean, I won a bet because I called this early this year, and I won the bet before the national title was even played. There wouldn't be an SEC team in there. So, I mean, come on, it's money is an issue, and you don't have Nick Saban anymore. So, what else you gonna do, right?
Yeah, no, like I said, I get it. And we're in full agreement. I didn't think the SEC was as strong as they portrayed themselves to be this year. I don't know if this is a pattern that we're seeing, or they're still trying to adjust to NIL and all that has come with it. But the SEC is in a bit of a funk, and I think we'll learn more about the conference overall next season, if this is a pattern that we have to watch, or if this was just a little blip on the radar. But
well, based off the fact that Miami is picking up, who's quarterback? Was Georgia's?
Beck.
Carson Beck, yeah.
Yeah. For just a fortune. And yet you couldn't keep him? Georgia? You lost a recruit to Miami?
They don't got it like that money-wise. You know that.
It's
He was coming back.
Yeah, I mean, this is the part where this is that slow wake up call. It's dude, a team that potentially lose to Georgia Tech poached the quarterback that almost lost to Georgia Tech. I mean, come on. Bunt's not here to yell at me for this, so I'm going to throw that in there. All right, so tweak wise, what tweaks would you make? Let's just hypothesize. All right, because I wouldn't change anything. Because I thought the way that the system worked out this year was great. Now, granted, I probably would have taken one less SEC team and would have figured out something else to bring in there in place of that. Because, I mean, we all saw they all got embarrassed, except for Texas, which at least made it to the second round.
That's a Big 12 team masquerading as an SEC team, let's be honest.
I mean, they do have the money, though.
Yeah. Donor base is very deep.
But, it's Texas belonged in there. I'd say Georgia probably belonged in there. I mean, Tennessee definitely didn't look like they belonged in there.
No, they did not.
So, who would you take instead of Tennessee, though? Would you take a Greater 5? Because that's where, for the grade of the sport, I'd love to see a Greater 5 in there in place of Tennessee.
Oh,
a Greater 5.
I mean, other than Boise State, though, I can't really say that there was another Group of 5 school that belonged to the playoffs. I can't think of one. And then even Boise, the one team that did get in, Boise State, did not do well in their one matchup against Penn State. So I think there would be a tough hill to climb to argue that a second Group of 5 school belonged in that field. I don't necessarily think Tennessee was the best team either, but it is going to be tough for me to really say that there was another team that they're getting in over them. And, I would rather not open up any avenue for Alabama fans to argue that they should have been in. So I'm just going to leave it as is.
Yeah, Tennessee might not be the best team ever, especially since, they got blown out, but I can't exactly think of a better fit there.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely can.
Maybe you give Miami a shot, but with the potential number 1 overall pick in Cam Ward, maybe you give them a shot, if nothing else than for the ratings. But
yeah, I mean, I would have liked to see what Miami would have done, as opposed to what Tennessee didn't do.
I feel like that
Uh,
Syracuse loss kind of screwed them over.
But yeah, I mean that's the part that hurts, right? But like, hey, winners get showers, right?
It's true.
So it's only if you follow the ACC that joke only makes sense.
Winners get showers.
Yeah, because I think the Syracuse coach was the Sicko Committee's coach of the year, because his whole thing was that he doesn't shower after a loss.
Oh.
The night of, he says he does shower during the week, and like there's this fantastic clip of him. They interviewed him and they asked him, it's like, oh, so you get to shower tonight, and like, because like it was like in the middle of all like the nonsense interviews, right? So they're asking him all the stupid, silly football questions, and he's like, blah 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 blah. And then they hit him with the like, oh, hey, you won, so at least you get to shower tonight. And he goes, oh yeah, winners get showers. It was the best thing ever.
I mean, as far as tweaks go, you know me. In a perfect scenario, we're taking all the conference champs and some at large. Obviously, that's never going to happen, and that's kind of a large tweak.
We're kind of doing that.
Well, no, we're not. We're only taking realistically. We're only taking the Power Four and a group of 5. We're not taking all the conference champs. I'm talking about all the FBS conference champs. If you want a true playoff where everyone has a shot, you take all the conference champs. You make Notre Dame join the Big Ten, ACC, or whatever, and you let everyone have a chance. That'll never happen for obvious reasons.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, but like at the same time, like you can see that Tennessee didn't deserve to be in there.
Of course not. But the problem is, who are you going to take them out for? I mean,
I know
Alabama's right there, and there wasn't another group of 5 school that you could say, okay, they belong in. I mean, no disrespect to Army or Navy, but they faltered down the stretch. Tulane, no. So it's like there were no other options except Alabama, unfortunately. Like I don't.
No, you're right. You're right. All right. All right. So moving on. Lexi. Producer Lexi.
Yeah, huh?
So, how's it feel to make it to the second round of the playoffs?
Well, off to the third round. Feels great. Feels amazing. Haven't seen this great of a team in my entire life. It's been 33 years since we've made the conference championship. We are not now the last NFC team to make the conference championship. It is now Dallas, who has not made the conference championship since 1996. So even us winning puts a beat on Dallas.
So do you think you're going to beat the Eagles?
I think we have a shot. We have the best 2 QBs in the entire NFC versing each other, and that's a take I will hang on. That Hurts and Jayden are the best 2 quarterbacks in the entire NFC. We are seeing the best rookie quarterback of all time right now. The Commanders roster is not that great, but Jayden is carrying this. He is the first ever rookie quarterback taken in the top 4 to make a conference championship in their rookie year. And back,
he's a magical player. Like no, like because he's electric. Like I mean, I saw him against us.
That's the game I started believing that we found our quarterback was against the Bengals.
Yeah, because it was a shootout. Now, granted, our defense was dog doo-doo. But like it was like I'm watching this guy play, and like it reminds me seriously of like early Lamar, like at Louisville. Like that's how slippery, that's how quick he is, that's how fast his reaction is, and it's just like you just don't have an answer on defense, which is
I have a
crazy.
take on that. Right now, Lamar is the better quarterback, but in 3 years, Jayden will be the better quarterback.
Well, yeah, because Lamar's going to get slower.
Jayden will be better than what Lamar is right now. That's what I'm saying.
That's
That is
a
take. That's a take.
Bold prediction.
Oh,
I love Jayden Daniels as much as the next guy. He won me a fantasy championship this year. I'm very optimistic about him. I don't know that I'm going that far yet. Although the fact that he is making the conference championship in his rookie year is more than Lamar could have said. I mean, the Commanders do have a shot to beat the Eagles, and if they do beat the Eagles, it is going to be because Jayden Daniels played out of his mind yet again.
Yeah.
There is one way.
Hang on, Lexi, before you get too much further. So, like, my argument with all of this, right? Because, like, we got to be real careful because we were in the same boat last year on the show. Okay. And we were talking about, like, how the Packers have a secret factory that produces crazy good quarterbacks that eventually turn crazy. And where are the Packers?
They weren't in the conference championship.
they're in Cancun.
They weren't in the conference championship last year.
It doesn't matter. Like it's the same. It's the same thing that like they were. It looked like there was that sparks of brilliance. So I'm just gonna say like, give the league a year, maybe 2, to see if they can figure out what Jayden Daniels is doing now, and see if they can adjust.
Actually,
I think that's going to be the part, because like if they can't adjust, or if they do like change their defensive schemes to deal with him, and then he comes out and he shows us like a whole nother level, then I think that you've got something on that statement. If it turns out that he's got kind of a one-dimensional weakness right now that he's able to spot, and if he can deal with it, and he can't compensate for it, then I think he's going to be in another Jordan Love situation. That's where I'm at. Like, I'm with you that like it's a 50-50 shot. If he is able to keep doing what he's doing and just set the league on fire, and that no matter what they throw at him, he's still able to adapt and innovate. Yeah, I'll be with you. Because that's what happened with Lamar. Like, people did not have a response for Lamar other than, my God, I hope he hurt him, because if he gets hurt, then he's not playing for a couple of games, and then that's going to take him out.
I also have another hot take. Very hot. Steaming take.
Oh no!
Only playoffs. Jayden has been the best quarterback in the playoffs so far.
Well, yeah, because Burrow's not there.
No, that's
yeah, he's
bad.
a Cancun.
Yeah,
he's a Cancun sipping with the Saints and the Browns.
Okay,
and the Jets.
Okay.
All right. See, now I hope
we were just getting the place warmed up for the Steelers.
But if you take a look at the Monday podcast section, rookie quarterback to start in conference championship games, what does all 5 of those quarterbacks that not named Jayden have in common? They all had a top 3 scoring defense. Jayden's doing this without a top 3 defense. When Brock Purdy made it, and Mark Sanchez made it, and Joe Flacco made it, and Big Ben and Sean King, they all had a top 3 defense. Jayden has the 18th defense. He's carrying this team, and he's the only reason we're here. And there is one way we beat the Eagles, and one way we beat the Eagles only. Limit Barkley's explosive plays. He can have 100 yards. He can have 80. We just need to stop the explosive plays that like he did against the Rams. If we can stop that, we have a chance to win this game. And
right,
before Eagles
hang on.
Okay.
For those of you that have no idea what we're talking about right now, is there's a poster that's been posted, and it's Jayden Daniels, Brock Purdy, Mark Sanchez, Joe Flacco, Ben Roethlisberger, and Sean King, in that order. It has the seasons listed, and then the same list of players. Their scoring defense was Jayden Daniels was 18, Brock Purdy was first, Mark Sanchez was third, Joe Flacco was third, Ben Roethlisberger was first, and Sean King was third. Just so that everyone has context for things. And if I may interject real quick, outside of Joe Flacco and Ben Roethlisberger, I don't know if I would consider the rest of that being good company.
Those are just rookie quarterbacks to start in a conference championship game.
No, I get it. I get it. It's just
Sean King, boy.
Some
And
respect
none
on the
have won.
Sanchez.
yeah.
None have won until Sunday.
Okay.
All right, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
I
So-
have one more thing because I know Eagles fans would be in the comments of saying the only reason the Eagles won or the Commanders won last time they played was Kenny Pickett was out. Kenny Pickett was playing and Jalen Hurts was hurt. When the Eagles and Commanders played the first time, Jayden Daniels was 100% clearly hurt and played through it. Both quarterbacks have played hurt during those games, and one has been out. And another thing, the Commanders turned it over 5 times and still beat the Eagles. Kenny Pickett doesn't play defense. Kenny Pickett doesn't make tackles. Kenny Pickett doesn't pull a CJ Gardner-Johnson and get yourself tossed out of a game. I think we have a shot. If we can contain Barkley, I could also easily see us losing. We are the team that does not have any. We have a rookie quarterback. We're not supposed to be here. We have vibes and the power of friendship to make the Super Bowl and take down Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, the commie bronies. That's just what I wanted to see.
So I think a better comparison for Jayden Daniels is it's not CJ Gardner-Johnson, CJ Stroud, because CJ Stroud looked like the best rookie quarterback we've ever seen his first year in Houston. Then he fell flat on his face this year. Why? Because teams figured him out, because there were other injuries to the key players around him, because he played a lot of hero ball. So I'm not saying Jayden Daniels won't take that next step next season, or that he'll turn into 2024-25 CJ Stroud. But if you want to see a good comp for where he could be, CJ Stroud is it. You know, once the league gets tape on you, if you don't know how to adapt, you're kind of SOL. That's what separates the good players from the great players.
That's what I was getting at.
I have a rebuttal for that, actually.
Oh,
All right,
go ahead.
please do.
CJ Stroud has already said Jayden has played way better than he has ever when he played. He's already quoted saying that. And another thing, to quote Marcus Mariota, is saying that teams currently are throwing things at Jayden they have not thrown all year. So he's already doing the adapting mid-game and doing that. That's why in some games he struggles in the first quarter, because teams are throwing stuff at him that they have not thrown before. He is adjusting already in his first year. And another thing that has been talked about around the league and why Jayden is considered top is only one quarterback has shown the poise that Jayden has, and that's Patrick Mahomes, or as you could say, Tom Brady-esque. Is that it could be the first quarter, it could be the fourth quarter, it could be a blowout, or it could be a tied game going to the Super Bowl. He will act the same and he will play the same. People are saying Jayden is a rookie quarterback, but who's not a rookie quarterback. And the quote of, I think, Dan Campbell, Jayden's a rookie, but he's not a rookie.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
like,
that's fine.
like leave it to Dan Campbell to not realize that he's a rookie in name only would have been a much better course of dialogue.
It was more
like,
saying Jayden's a rookie, is a quarterback and is a not a veteran quarterback in a rookie quarterback's body. That he's not playing like any rookie quarterback ever. This is something you should be seeing out of Jayden in year 3 or 4, not year 0.
And I get that. I'm just saying I've seen this song and dance a long time. Be it with, again, CJ Stroud. I saw with Matt Ryan his first year. He looked really good his first year. Sophomore slump happened. Then he kind of regressed a bit. I'm not saying Jayden Daniels cannot take that next step, or we are looking at, the ceiling of Jayden Daniels. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, don't get caught up in the hype and temper your expectations. This is year 1. We don't know how much of it is just based off vibes or the fact that there's no tape out there or what have you. That's all I'm saying. Because, again, we could be here next year having the same conversation and we're like, gosh, what happened to Jayden Daniels in year 2? Why didn't
we
he
could have the
recapture that same magic?
conversation. Is he the NFC? Is he the NFC's Patrick Mahomes?
Sure, we could also have that too.
I mean, great, fantastic. I can't wait to see what car insurance he's going to try and sell me.
Wow, you're such a hater.
I'm just saying, look at LSU quarterbacks the last couple of years. Joe Burrow and now Jayden Daniels.
Sorry that Burrow's not as good as Jayden Daniels.
No.
Different type of
Not
quarterback. Very different types of quarterback.
Yeah, again, it's Jayden is closer to Lamar. Like, I've watched Lamar's career before anyone else even knew Lamar existed. Like, I was there at his first game. I was at the Chick-fil-A game, the opening season game in Atlanta. I got to see Lamar's first game, and I knew that he was something special. And like that's what Jayden reminds me of. That's how just slippery. Like, it feels like he's a man playing among boys. Now, again, people can do things to adjust for that kind of gameplay. We saw that as well when LSU took him on, and they actually schemed for him. It killed the team on our end of things. So, like, it's not something that can't happen, and that's really what I'm after. Now, that being said, let's talk about the rest of the games that happened this weekend, because I just want to get those out of the way real quick, just so that we're in the clear. The Chiefs barely beat the Texans, which is embarrassing. Barely.
Okay.
Like 12 points.
Oh my god.
Barely. We already covered the Commanders, so like they came out on top. The Eagles versus the Rams was way closer than I thought it was going to be.
Knowing Matthew Stafford's record in the rain and snow, I agree. We all knew it was going to be bad weather going into that game. So, the fact that he was able to keep it close was, in and of itself, a surprise.
Yeah. And then last but not least was, of course, the game that we talked about last week, which was the Ravens versus the Bills, which was a phenomenal game. And if you didn't watch it, oh my God, like, you go back to, you find that game. I don't care where you find it at. You go back and you watch that game, because that was an exciting game. Sai, did you get to watch the game?
I did watch the game. I watched it at a convention, and we're talking about the Ravens game, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Superstar.
All right, real quickly. I watched that game. It boggles my mind how the Baltimore Ravens are so talented, yet they're the most careless team in the NFL come playoff time. Mark Andrews had one job, and that was to hold on to the ball. He did it. Was it 3 times or twice? I saw the 2 times. I think there was a third time, but I saw the 2 times.
There's 3 times that he caused. All right, so he had a fumble, he had a drop, and then he had a miss.
So I watched a fumble. He fumbled that. I watched a fumble, and I remember he had the drop at the end of regulation in the 2-point conversion. And it boggles my mind how this seems to happen on a near yearly basis for that team, where they snatch defeat out of the hands of victory, or whatever that term, however you say it. And they're just an undisciplined team. I don't know what it is. They're just an undisciplined team. I figured they would lose because because John Harbaugh would find a way to mess up the adjustments after halftime. No, they lost because they're undisciplined. They cannot play a clean game, and Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson, let's keep it 100, lost them that game with their turnovers. And if I'm a Ravens fan, I'm PO'd. I'm upset. This might have been their best shot to win a Super Bowl, and they blew it.
I'm going to counter it with what I saw, which is probably going to break your mind a little bit. But like I saw the Bills last year and the year before in this Ravens team, because if you remember, we talked about this quite a bit, where that Josh Allen can't resist hero ball. Like, okay. And he's got that ability to do a little bit of hero ball, but like if you let him go full ham hero ball, then he starts making mistakes because it's just hog wild. Well, if you just back him back just a little bit, just like you don't have to say no hero ball. You say 50% less hero ball, and he is going to win a ton of games. And that was the thing that it took a while for the Bills to learn. Now they've learned it. And look at where they're at. Because they're playing clean, efficient football with a little bit of hero ball. And that little bit of magic is just enough to get them past whoever they're playing. And that's what the Ravens need, is they need just a little bit of like, hey, stop trying to force the win and just bring it back a little bit. You could do a little bit of Lamar magic because, like, you got freaking Lamar Jackson. You might as well use some of that magic because, by God, like, it's pretty magical. But, hey, if you don't put reins on it to say, like, that was a little bit too much, you get what you got this weekend. And which was what we were saying like last year with the Bills and the year before where they got knocked out early. You've got to like just put just a little bit of a limit about how much hero ball you can do. You can do a little bit because, by God, you're like in the top of the league and you can do just amazing things. But just bring it back just a little bit and keep the rest of it in control. And then you won't make all these like sloppy mistakes. And then you won't need to have that 2-point conversion because you wouldn't have made, was it 4 turnovers? It was either 3 or 4 for the game, right? And I think that's the part that Baltimore has to come to that come to Jesus moment, if you will.
It was 3 turnovers.
Yeah, it was like 3. Okay, it was 3 or 4. I knew that. As opposed to like Bills none, right? Which is unheard of for Josh Allen, which is why they're winning. And that's why that's my pick to make it to the Super Bowl. In any time, so let's just go around the horn about the upcoming games because we have 2. Commanders versus Eagles. Who do you think you got, Sam?
You know what? I got Commanders because I think if Jayden Daniel can beat the Lions, yes, I know they had, defensive injuries and all that, but going toe-to-toe with Jared Goff, and he usually doesn't make those mistakes, and he did this game, I kind of think the Eagles might do the same thing.
Drewski, same question.
Part of me is saying that Nick Sirianni is overdue for a massive blunder that is going to cost the Eagles the game. But to be real, I do think the Eagles are the better team. Defensively, they are miles better than the Commanders, and as good as Jayden Daniels has been, I think the magic kind of runs out here. I think he will have a great game, but it's not going to be enough to carry the Commanders. And I believe the Eagles are going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Stylocks, Commanders versus Eagles. Who do you think you got?
Sure. If I had to pick, it's going to be Eagles. Saquon Barkley is playing out of his mind. You have Jalen Hurts, who, while I think Jayden Daniels is a really good quarterback, Jalen Hurts has been there before. He knows the deal. He knows how to operate under pressure, and he's not a rookie. So I think the Eagles win convincingly.
I think Jalen's going to get magical, and then I think he's going to have his little run. So I think he's going to beat the Eagles. Bigger question: Bills versus Chiefs. What do you got, Sam?
I think the voodoo magic's just gonna be bound to happen with the Chiefs, unfortunately. But I think
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
So you think the Chiefs are going to win?
Yes.
That's gross. I hate it.
I hate it too, but I just think that Mahomes voodoo magic and ref magic is just gonna come out.
Drewski?
I hate to say it. I not a much of a Bills enjoyer as a fan of a division rival. But I would ultimately rather see some fresh blood in the Super Bowl. I do not think this is going to happen, though. I think it's unfortunate to be the Chiefs again. They are going to just squeak out a win on some devil magic, on some refs. It's not going to be pretty, like most of their wins have not been. But
I was there for one of them.
I do unfortunately think it's going to be the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
I will say, regardless of whoever's in the Super Bowl, I will be rooting for whoever comes out of the NFC. So,
Lexi, I didn't ask you the question on the first one, just so you know, just because I didn't want you to jinx your team one way or the other. However, on this side of the ball, Lexi, who do you think? Chiefs versus Bills.
It's gonna be devil magic, Chiefs.
Sidewalks.
Well, let me get on my knees real quick and prep myself for
God.
this. These Chiefs are
you
going to
repping the
win.
game? Are you repping the game?
No, I just have to service the best quarterback in the NFL. So
No, you're getting down there to blow the game, is what you're telling me.
I'm blowing something. But Patrick Mahomes is going to win this game for the Chiefs, and they're going to the Super Bowl, and they will win the Super Bowl because he's the best quarterback in the NFL by far. And the Chiefs are a team of destiny. Three-peat, baby. Say it with me. Three-peat. It's going to happen.
Do you think it'll be a convincing win, or do you think it's going to be a squeaker?
It'll be a convincing win because Josh Allen is going to hero ball the game away.
I'm still sticking with my original pick for the AFC champion, which was going to be the Bills. I mean, I originally had the Bills and Detroit playing the Super Bowl. But I'll take the commies and the Bills. I think that would be a fun matchup. So, all right, we're done with NFL talk, and Stylox, you get to start your topic, I guess, unless you want to defer for next week.
You know what? I think we can have this discussion. So, and I think Sam can also join in on this too. So let's talk about ratings. The NBA ratings, they are down tremendously, as much as 17%. Or some people say 25%. It depends on which outlet you go to for your information. And it's a problem. Now, normally in election years, ratings for sports tends to go down because people are paying attention more to that. Problem with that, though, is the NFL, the ratings have gone up. They've gone up in that time span. And people are trying to figure out, well, what's the difference? Why are the NBA ratings down, year over year? And a lot of people have chalked it up to, well, the product isn't good. The players are taking too many threes. You have all this stuff with, load management. Certain teams aren't being put on television. Certain teams are being put on television way too much. And it's just not bringing the eyes. To me, it's a fascinating thing to see because I think there's no singular reason why this is happening. It's a lot of different reasons coming together, causing this perfect storm. Now, if I had to just give, I think the biggest reason, I think the product is not appealing anymore. Remember when we saw Steph Curry break out into the scene, like truly break out and start shooting threes, and people were like, "Oh my god, that's so cool! Wow, people shoot threes!" Like, it was a spectacle to watch. It was fun. You were seeing Steph Curry and the Warriors go up against LeBron James and the Cavs, pretty much every year. That luster wears off after a while, and right now you're looking at a product that is just, it's kind of bland in the regular season.
Well, you don't have the, I mean, at least as far as I can tell, not to cut you off a little bit, but
you're fine.
You don't have the, like, Jordan and Bird. You don't have the Kobe and LeBron. I mean, you don't have that rub that creates the drama that is interesting. I mean, like literally, we just spent, the last half hour arguing about, like, all right, Josh Allen versus Lamar versus guy selling me car insurance versus Burrow. There's 4 quarterbacks that, like, could easily be in the top, and then we've got, like, the upstart, right? Like, and we've got Jayden Daniels that's, like, right there, that's, like, nipping at everybody's heels, being like, maybe I might be in that conversation. Do you really have that in the NBA? Because it feels like you don't. Everything's been muted.
I think we're in this weird transition period as we start to move on from LeBron and Steph. There's sort of this vacuum currently where there really isn't well, there are stars, but you don't have this era, so to speak. So if you look at the NBA, there's been eras. You've had Magic Bird era, Jordan era, Shaq and Kobe / the Kobe era, the LeBron era, then the Steph and LeBron era. And we're kind of in the middle. We're transitioning out of that. There are marketable stars, but I don't think they've reached the level of LeBron or Jordan. Like, I like Jokic. I think he plays the game correctly. I love how he plays. Unfortunately, he plays in Denver, and he's not marketable. Not because he plays in Denver, but it's Jokic. Like, if you've seen the man, let's be honest, the guy's, he likes horses. There's nothing wrong with that. But
I mean, it's fine. But like Donovan Mitchell, to be fair, like, if he didn't end up in Utah, I think that he might have had a chance. I think now he's in Cleveland? Is that right?
Yeah,
He is.
What it comes back to is, like Silex said, we are transitioning out of Steph and LeBron being the marquee stars, and the current marquee stars have not been marketed well at all. Guys like Anthony Edwards playing in Minnesota, Jokic playing in Denver, Luka Doncic playing in Dallas. These are great, outstanding players that deserve to be on the marquee. But playing in small markets, and ultimately, I don't think the NBA has done as good a job as they have in the past at marketing these guys as star players, as the face of the league. And I think that's kind of led to a bit more apathy towards the NBA.
Well, no, that's exactly what I was getting at. Like, right. So we were talking about, like, there's 4 top quarterbacks probably in the NFL, right? But then we're also constantly going, well, who's the next one? And maybe it is Jayden Daniels. Maybe that is the next one that's nipping at the heels of the greats. Because that was always the discussion. You go back every single year, and it's like, all right. So when it was Peyton and Brady, but yet, like, people are like, well, there's also Drew Brees, and there's also this person. Like, we were always looking for who the next guy in line was that was going to come in and, like, grab a hold of that mantle and, like, take it. And I feel like the NBA does a really terrible job about looking down the pipeline. Like, they're very good about focusing that spotlight on, oh, it's LeBron. it's Kobe. But it's like, who else is coming up? Because
So
you guys got to have a villain. Go ahead.
I have a take on this. Is that the NBA tried to market a star and then he failed horribly. They were trying to. Silox will know about this. They tried to make Zion Williamson the next LeBron.
They did.
There were tweets in 2020 about Zion versus LeBron. They were trying to market him, and they marketed him beautifully, and it failed in their face.
I mean, to be fair, from the college football or from the college basketball world, that wasn't really. That was kind of forced down the NBA's throat because of how much. Like they literally had a Zion cam whenever Duke would play.
No, this was 2 years into his career. They were saying they were hyping up a matchup of Zion versus LeBron as the star matchup, and they failed.
I know, but like this all started back when he was in college, and they literally had a camera that was dedicated to him, and we all got sick of him real quick.
Well, he was I don't want to say anointed, but so the NBA has always, for a while now, they've been looking for the next LeBron, the next Steph, the next up. And it makes sense because those guys are not going to play forever, and eventually you want to transition away from them. Players have come and gone. Zion was probably, I don't want to say the closest, but in the eyes of Adam Silver and the NBA front office, he was that heir apparent, quote unquote, and that's why they pushed him. Problem is, guy can't stay healthy and stay away from food to save his life, and he's kind of trash. I will die on that hill. I don't care. I'm a Pelicans fan. I can say that. So it kind of blew up in their face. Now they're trying to figure out, okay, if it's not Zion, who is it? Is it SGA? Is it, Luka Doncic? Is it Wemby? Is it, if it's still Giannis? Like, they're still trying to figure that out. And it just so happens, unfortunately, under component is all those stars that I just listed, they play in smaller markets. Not that that should have an impact in the year of our Lord 2025, but it still kind of does in basketball anyway. So the NBA, they've done a horrible job, I think, at marketing their stars to an extent, but there's only so much they can do. Like I said, if the product is not good, people aren't going to tune in. And whether it objectively is good or not, the perception amongst casual fans who just tune in, it's not good. What do they see? Oh, all they do is shoot 3-pointers now. That may be true. That may not be true. I'm not saying it's right or not.
Oh, I'm so sick of the 3-point argument because it is such a cop-out.
But it's the perception amongst the cat. But yeah, I know. But it's the perception amongst the casual fan, and to that casual person, why would I watch this game where all they do is shoot threes? This isn't what I grew up with. Like, why would that casual fan watch that? Now, real quick, Silver has downplayed that in a lot of interviews, but come on, behind closed doors, you and I both know he's probably thinking the same thing. Maybe they do shoot too many threes. Maybe they need to go back to 90s style basketball where there's a lot more defense, where you could check people back then. I don't know, but there are tweaks that can be made to the game.
Bring back the zone.
Yeah, but there are tweaks that can be made, but it relies on the NBA to have a come to Jesus moment and realize, okay, maybe the product isn't as good as we think it is, and we should fix it.
Because it's been the thing that kills me with NBA is like you watch it and it's just like watching Calipari basketball. And it's like if you can overpower the other team just on sheer talent, you're gonna win every single time. And nobody really wants to watch that. Especially if you don't have a star to bring in eyeballs. Just to see that Michael Jordan show up and just wreck everything, or LeBron show up and just dominate everything. Now, the people criticizing the 3-point shot, it'd be like the people that are like, well, hey, Shaq would be a bigger star if it wasn't for the 3-point shot. That's like, all right, but the 3-point shot is the counter to Shaq. It exists for a reason. Bring back things to attack the 3-point shooter, and things will be different. But they don't want to do that because they think that defense slows down games. It makes it less exciting. The thing is at a 50-point ball game, every basket is exciting. At a 118-point game, are they really all that exciting? Especially if it's just literally going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Like at some point, you just get fatigue.
I got something to say about
Go
that.
ahead. Please do, Sam.
So, I think Silox is kind of right about, all these stars are in a small market. Shea's in OKC, Donovan's in Cleveland, Luka's in Dallas, etc., etc. It's kind of, there's not much you can do to get around that. And what I will say, though, is they did do a great job of Oklahoma City versus Cleveland, that first game. They marketed that extremely well. So what can you pick up where you left off from that with other teams?
And not I do mostly agree with the small market argument, whereas it's a little bit different in terms of getting these players exposure while they play in small markets. But Cleveland is not a big market. LeBron went there and immediately put them on the map. We just haven't
Thank you.
seen,
Thank you.
I mean, Golden State Warriors played in Oakland. I mean, obviously it's the Bay Area. It's a somewhat big market, but it's not. It wasn't LA. It wasn't New York. Steph Curry still went there, won championships, and put the Golden State Warriors on the map. We haven't seen a player come in the league and do that. Yes, Giannis had a stretch where he won multiple MVPs. He won an NBA championship, but the Bucks have not even sniffed that since. Jokic consistently contending for the MVP. The Nuggets also won a championship, but they have not been able to consistently match the success, both the player and the team. And if we had a guy like Giannis, where every single year he's in the top 3 talks for MVP. Every single year, the Bucks are at minimum making it to a 6 or 7 game conference final. I think we would be having a different conversation. So yeah, I mean, is a guy like Luka Doncic or SGA going to get less exposure in a place like Oklahoma City or Dallas than they would if they were playing in Los Angeles for the Lakers or playing in New York? Yes, but at the same time, it goes both ways. These players have an opportunity to put their respective teams and their respective cities on the map, and they just have not done that.
Yeah, and to be fair, like it took Lamar going down to Miami to build the super team, but like he could have easily done that in Cleveland if he wanted to.
Well,
Well,
I'm not so sure about that. I think
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so sure either.
Yeah,
It's
I
definitely
think
more balanced than it would be in baseball. It's not all the big market teams buying everyone, but at the same time, I don't know if Cleveland would have had the same allure as going to Miami. No disrespect to my good friends that live in Cleveland. It's just it would not have been the same.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
like
no,
no,
no.
I agree.
I'm from Cincinnati, so I hate Cleveland as much as everyone else, and I think it's a shithole. But I
Well,
got
so
the
is
chance.
Cincinnati. So is
Lexi, make
Cincinnati.
sure to cut that. Lexi, make sure to save that clip.
But that
but outside of the fact that like their rivers just magically catch on fire and like no one has a job there, and it's a dirty city.
Hmm.
LeBron is still there, and at some point somebody else would have came up there to at least been contributing to LeBron's success there. And I don't think he would have won as many as he did in Miami, but I think he would have won some.
Well, I think it
Ultimately,
also
though,
comes. Oh, go ahead.
I think him leaving also kind of gave Cleveland a chance to reset. So that when he went back, he had a Kyrie, who was a number 1 overall pick, who had a couple years to mold himself into the next big point guard in the NBA, and they had the roster space to add a guy like Kevin Love, one of the better power forwards of that era. So, I mean, could you make the argument that, yeah, maybe a guy like Chris Bosh or Dwayne Wade or whoever might have eventually joined him in Cleveland? Yes. But ultimately, he might have never won a championship in Cleveland. And we're talking about him like he's the basketball version of Dan Marino.
Yeah, I don't think LeBron wins a title in Cleveland had he stayed. I think there were too many. A lot of it come down to Pat Riley was willing to assemble that team. Like he was willing to let LeBron come in and pair up with Wade and then bring Bosh in. I don't know if Dan Gilbert or whoever was the GM in Cleveland at the time would have allowed something like that to happen.
They tried, but they just didn't get anybody. Their best acquisition was Antoine Jameson. They tried to get Brandon Roy. They tried to get Brandon Roy. They tried to get Michael Redd.
Oof, Michael Redd. He was such an underrated player. Knees failed him in the end of the day, but yeah, either was his knees, but yeah. So they tried in Cleveland. It's just they weren't gonna get anyone up there. The allure. So you have to remember, this was before there was an allure of playing with LeBron like there is now. Like he hadn't won anything. Sure, he'd been to a finals and got boat raced by the Spurs in 4, but it was still a league run by Kobe at the time. So the allure of LeBron wasn't really there. And I don't know if he could have assembled what he did in Miami. I just can't see it. But going back real quick, I will say that I think the NBA does have a bright future. Personally, I think the whole rating stuff, I do think it's a blip. I don't think this is indicative of something more troubling. I just think they're in this weird transition period, and once they find their star or stars to market, they'll be fine. But it is kind of concerning, and I do hope Adam Silver does take a step back and think, okay, how can we make the game more palatable to the casual fan? How do we market stars a little bit better? Make sure certain teams are on TV, at night. How do we make sure people aren't abusing the whole load management crap that's going on now, which I absolutely hate, and it's just a cop out for people not to play. So I think there are a lot of things that can be done to fix it, but
there's another thing I think is very troubling with the NBA too. Their streaming services are kind of awful.
That's it right there. That's part of it. Also, I think there's too many games. It's the same problem I got with baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, 82 is a lot. That's a lot to stay invested.
That's a lot. Like college ball's got like 32, and you're playing almost triple that. That's a lot, and that means that because it diminishes the product that you're watching, right? Because that's the other thing. Now Drewski's going to argue with me otherwise because Drewski's a big baseball fan. But like the reason why I love NFL is because every freaking game matters. You all had to deal with me for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because like I was watching my percentage go up because games were going in my favor. I went from a 3% chance to make the playoff all the way to a 46% chance to make the playoff until we didn't. But every game freaking mattered. Every week mattered, so it meant that it was must-see TV. Now, when you're playing 100 games, where you're playing 90 games, where you're playing 80 games, like that's too many. That it diminishes the product. And so just going to a game that doesn't have any significance to it kind of hurts you.
That also causes the load man.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I don't know how else to fix that other than just say, like, hey, shave 20 games off of that and give me a little bit more weight to every game I'm watching. And I might be reinvested. I mean, I'm right now watching Louisville. Like, I think we're actually in the top 2 now of the ACC. And every freaking game matters for the rest of the season because we don't get to play Duke again. Like, it's a big deal. But if this was an NBA game, oh well, it'll come back around, and we'll have another chance at it. It's and plus, it's also the problem I got with their playoff system too. Like, I'm sorry, like I really hate the NBA playoff system, but that I watch it because like that's the most exciting time when it is to watch the NBA, and it is fun. But I really don't like their playoff system because it rewards you losing because you get another chance.
Would any of you say that the NBA has a parity problem as well, or the parity is just fine?
I think the parity was more of an issue back when it was Golden State versus LeBron every single year in the finals. We've kind of seen a little more diversity in who's representing each conference. Even though the Celtics have won the most, they were there for the first time in about a decade last year when they won. Same goes for Dallas. They hadn't been in the finals since they won in 2011. And the Denver Nuggets hadn't been there. I could be wrong. I think it was first time since the 70s. Same goes for the Bucks, year before them. I don't think it's really as much of an issue anymore of, well, it's just the same 2 or 3 teams winning every year. So that aspect I think can get casual fans more interested, people in places like OKC, where, it's not just going to be the Warriors or the Spurs coming out of the West. You have a shot. It's not a parity issue anymore. It is I agree with the schedule issue. Could probably benefit from a shorter season, both from a weight of each game standpoint as well as a load management standpoint. It's not a parity issue anymore, though. I don't think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's a parity issue either. I think, as
My
Drewski was saying,
no, go ahead, Sam. Sorry.
as Drewski was saying, you have a lot more teams winning now, like Denver, Milwaukee.
Which is great.
OKC hasn't made it yet, but I think they will. Cleveland again, the Lakers. Well,
that championship doesn't count, but yeah, no, you're
the
right.
bubble ring.
Yeah,
Mickey
Mickey
Mouse.
Mouse ring.
But no. Like I like the parody more. Like it's actually gotten me more interested in it than I was before. But again, like they've done such a terrible job about marketing all the other individual stars and creating the drama. I mean, obviously, it's easy to create drama between 2 players and 2 teams, right? Michael Jordan versus Larry Bird. That's easy.
You mean
But
not Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird?
I mean, there's that, but like also the Bird versus Jordan is a very famous matchup as well.
Yeah, in
I
the
mean,
early
like,
years of Jordan when Bird kept knocking him out every year.
yeah, like that's my years in the NBA Psylocks. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Whoa, I didn't want to date you there. My bad. I was
Yeah,
trying to look
I
out
think
for you.
we're due for another rivalry. It
Yeah.
was Bird versus Magic for a while. It was, we had Jordan versus whoever the hell else was in the East, whether it was Reggie Miller, Patrick Ewing, and then we
His
got
old teammates,
to
Yeah.
and then
Oh boy.
we finally, I would say the most recent rivalry we really had like that would have been LeBron versus Curry, and we just haven't had a rivalry like that develop since then, and it could be sooner rather than later. I mean, maybe OKC versus the Timberwolves is the matchup we're looking at for the next few years in the Western Conference Finals, and that's what people are going to pay attention to.
Well, I mean
We
that's
just
fine,
haven't
but
had.
I want names. I want names. I want excitement. I want drama. Give me a Dennis Rodman thrown in there just for
Yeah, I
making
mean,
things spicy. You know?
Well, we had that with Draymond Green, and he was just putting people in. Well,
Yeah, but like
Understood. Door.
Dennis Rodman's entertaining. Draymond Green just kicked people in the nuts in an extremely non-funny way.
yeah.
yeah, but like that was the thing that made like Rodman so great because like he was smart. Like he was crazy, but he was smart. Like he played really smart basketball. Like he would sit there and he would analyze a team and he'd figure out like, all right, every time that so and so shoots from this point on the arc, if it doesn't go in, the rebound is going to be here. That's why he was such a rebound leader, because he would know where he was going to be based off the analytics of whoever. Like, this is before like analytics was a thing and you didn't have computers to do it for you. But that was the part that made Rodman so good, and that's what allowed his antics to like continue, which also created stories and then still brought eyeballs in because people just wanted to see what this Rodman character was going to do. And again, back to the original statement before we move on to Drewski's stuff, is that the NFL, the NBA has done such a terrible job about marketing everything that's coming up that at this point it's like, all right, so if LeBron retires, who's left? They always had a couple of guys in the wings, just in case like Kobe didn't make it or LeBron like ended up flaming out. Like they always had a couple of other guys that would still make it to the newsreel almost every week. And it seems like there's nobody else there that they've built up for this, because it's all about a supporting cast and stuff. And like while it's great that those two teams are going to be battling for it, we need a story. We need a villain. You got to have a hero. Like it's basic storytelling.
Well, real
I got a hot
quickly.
take.
Oh, go.
Go ahead.
I think Shea versus Donovan, Cavs versus Thunder is the next one.
I could see it.
I mean, I 100% can see it, but like for some reason they're not marketing it as it, and that's my complaint. If that makes sense. Like I want you to market that drama, but it seems like they're just like, LeBron's here, we don't want to anger LeBron, that we're giving someone else attention, and that's kind of what it still feels like.
They're too focused on the old heads, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like the LeBron, KDs of the world, like they're heavily focused on the Suns when those teams won't make the playoff. Like,
yeah,
one team that should be marketed is Orlando, and if you don't know basketball, you know nothing about the Magic.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think real quickly as we move on, once all these old heads retire, the league is fine. They have, like I said, there's a multitude of stars. Like they started, if you notice, last year they started pushing Anthony Edwards a lot more. People
Wemby
like
they're
him.
pushing.
Yeah, Wemby also, because I think Wemby's the future. Like that is just, oh my god. So
Pushing Shea and Donovan this year.
yeah, so they'll be fine. It's just that they need to, once they figure out the marketing side of things, they'll be good to go. But I don't think.
Nah, they're gonna do Bronny next year. Push Bronny.
Okay. Oh, that's disgusting.
Oh, they're gonna try.
Push him to the G League, more like it. That's where he belongs. You got to stay there.
Yeah, we're running long on time. So, but yeah, like I mean, I completely agree with you. Like it's just kind of disgusting, because it's like, hey, you got to constantly be farming up that stuff that's coming up down the pipeline. If you're not, this is why you wither on the vine, because people get tired of the same old story. Right. So, all right. So moving on, Drewski, you get the last topic of the night.
Oh boy.
And it's my least favorite topic of the night, because it involves baseball. And I hate baseball, but that's okay. There are other people that enjoy baseball, and I am not here to discredit them for watching a sport that's incredibly slow and incredibly boring and has mediocre hot dogs and terrible
That's
beer.
just your opinion, man.
You're just a hater for no reason.
Straight hating.
So all of that being said, I heard you guys have like a little hall that you put people's pictures up in. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so today we all got to take a break from bitching about the Dodgers stealing everyone off the free agent market to honor three players. Three players were voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame today by the Baseball Writers Association of America. We had two guys on their first ballot, and Ichiro Suzuki and CC Sabathia both get in, as well as Billy Wagner, who was on his 10th and final ballot. He was also elected today, and I am fully on board with all three choices. Ichiro was truly a transcendent player. He was the guy that came over and kind of ignited the the influx of Japanese players in MLB. He was the first superstar to come over from Japan, and he was one of the best pure hitters of all time. He was outstanding defensively. He was on the team that won more regular season games than any other team in history, and both through his play and through his impact on the game culturally, he 100% deserves to get in. Out of all the ballots casted, there was only one that didn't vote for him to get in, and I would really love to hear that guy's argument. But nevertheless, a very deserving Hall of Famer. Uh, Excited to see him get in. CC Sabathia as well, one of the best left-handed pitchers of his era. His 2008 run with the Brewers to help them get into the postseason, one of the most unforgettable trade deadline acquisitions in sports history. He won a World Series with the Yankees. Really, really great pitcher for his time, and he would deserve to get in. And lastly, Billy Wagner, it took him all 10 ballots, but he is one of the greatest left-handed relievers in history, one of the best strikeout pitchers in history, and I'm very happy to see him get in as well, especially as he is a former New York Met, and I will never not root for someone like that.
All right, so because it is baseball related, I am contractually obligated to ask you: should Pete Rose be in?
No, he agreed to the ban. As great of a player he was, if you go into any clubhouse in MLB, you'll see a sign says betting on baseball is not allowed, and he decided to bet on baseball. So, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. He could have had 10,000 hits. He was his own undoing. So yeah, I don't feel any sympathy for him at all. He does not belong in the Hall of Fame, and that's that.
Oh, I have some bad news for you, which means that you are now banned from receiving really terrible spaghetti with really awful chili on top of it.
You just banned her from Cincinnati? That's crazy.
And it's the
Am I
Cincinnati
banned
chili.
from all of Cincinnati, or is it just Skyline Chili? Because I would like to go to Great American Ballpark at some point.
No, that's Skyline chili. That's Gold Star chili. That's Blue Ridge chili. That's there's another one. There's also the one that's in the van.
I love Skyline.
I think I'll manage.
Oh no! Why?
Can always hire someone to go undercover and get me some Skyline chili, should I so choose.
You should never choose.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
I just had to fulfill my contractual obligation as someone who lives within the proximity of the city to ask the important question, because if you ask it here, everyone thinks that he should just be allowed in anyway.
Yikes.
Because he never bet against himself. That's the argument.
Yeah, no, it's a tricky thing. Because
it is a minefield. I know. Like I don't take a position in it because I hate baseball, but this is the easiest way to just get a discussion out of baseball people. But go ahead.
I feel like you can't tell the story of the MLB without Pete Rose, unfortunately. So I think
which also means that he should be in the Hall of Fame just for infamy, right? At least give him that.
I think years from now, what's going to happen is the MLB will wise up and be like, you know what, we're going to have to make our own steroid wing or whatever, and just put people like him, not even steroids, just awful people who have either
Barry Bonds will be in before we know it. Roger Clemens will be in before we know it. I mean, to be fair, those guys were not banned from baseball like Pete Rose was, officially banned. Yeah, Sosa will have a shot. I mean,
put Joe Jackson in there
20
too.
years or so, who knows? The MLB might have a change of heart, and we'll see Pete Rose get in. He was on top of the betting thing. He was not a particularly savory person, so I don't foresee that happening. But who knows?
What about Bond?
Oh man, Barry Bonds.
Yeah,
he has to get in.
Yeah, we just talked about that.
He has to get in.
He should be in. Bonds should be in.
What about McGuire and Sosa?
They gotta be in too.
Yeah.
Like I said,
I mean,
but they cheated. So
I know. Well, if we're making a section for cheaters and steroid users,
I I would love a section for cheaters, and just like that way you just go ahead and you put Pete in it, and then say, hey, guess what? He's in it, and it's like,
I mean, there
well,
were plenty of guys that took steroids and still sucked. You know, Barry
Yeah, well-
Bonds, Sosa, McGuire were setting records.
well,
They
yeah,
were still talented players.
yeah,
But
but
if you
like,
want to put an asterisk next to their name, by all means, they deserve it. But you know, you can't tell the story of baseball without Pete Rose. You can't tell the story of baseball without, you know, Barry Bonds becoming one of the most feared hitters in the game, without Sosa versus McGuire in '98, the home run chase that saved baseball after the strike. So, you know,
so you're saying you can't tell the
I'm
story of
genuinely at the
baseball
point
without
where,
all three, right?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if you got to put Pete in to get Bonds and McGuire and Sosa in, then so be it. But you know, I don't necessarily think Pete doesn't deserve to be in. He was
Well,
a
that was
great
my
player.
question.
He's the all-time MLB hits leader. I I don't foresee him getting in though.
Well, because my question wasn't whether or not you foresee him getting in; is does he deserve to be in? Was my question.
I mean, if we're going on talent alone, yes.
Okay, great.
And
Now you can
ultimately,
eat
had he
really
not
crappy chili on really shitty noodles, and you're just gonna have to deal with that
I
one.
am honored.
Nah, you got to be banned from Cincinnati though. You still banned. You can't come.
It's
Whatever
okay. You have
will I
Cleveland
do?
Drewski. You have Cleveland Drewski.
All right, everybody.
Fun times in Cleveland again.
It's
We're gonna-
Cleveland.
We're gonna conclude the episode on that. So please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you all next week. Bye.
Bronny got to stay in the G League. Just putting that out there.
Oh God.